Welcome back to the Morning Movement Show. I'm your host, Sarah Joy Gaines, and today we have our first guest, founder of Art Girl. It's Meagan Mahaffy. Give it up for Meagan, everybody. I am so excited to have you on the show, Meagan. I could not think of a more perfect person to have as our first guest. And as a thank you, I wanted to just give you a little gift from all of us here at the Morning Movement Show.
They did not tell me they were doing this. Oh my god.
So maybe just open it a little bit more that way, yeah.
Okay. Oh my god. Oh my god. This is amazing. Are you kidding? Oh my god. Look at that. Okay, and there's a little chocolate.
Yeah, there's a little cake that we'll all share after the show, but just some butterflies and flowers as a thank you. And I can only imagine that you'll put those in a junk journal.
Yeah, these are going
journal
straight
for sure
in the journal.
after. So, yeah, let's just
Oh my god, this is so special. Wow.
Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you for having me. I was already so honored, and now I'm even more emotional.
Well, Meagan, to get started, I'd love to ask you, what is your first memory of movement?
My first memory of movement coincides with like my earliest memories of life, I think. I was thinking about this, and when I was a kid, we had a room in our house that was painted yellow, and I had I had this little tradition with my dad. He would like, not all the time, but like occasionally we would put on music and he would like pick me up and dance me around in the yellow room, which I called the yayo room. It was very cute and wholesome. Did you say it?
Well, I said lelo.
Oh my god. That's so cute. I know. I think that was one of the words that my parents never corrected me on because they thought it was so cute. And then even we moved out of that house when I was like 5, but we always still called it the yayo room even after I learned how to say yellow. But that's one of my earliest memories, and it was about like connection with my dad. We would put music on and he would kind of like dance me around, and I would be like laughing and so joyful, and it was so loving.
That's so sweet.
I know.
I love that.
And then as I got older, I remember if like thinking about movement makes me think about like gym class also.
Like PE?
PE,
Yeah.
and like I think there's such a difference between movement for joy and movement that you're kind of like forced into.
Totally.
I remember like being forced to like run a mile.
That's what I was gonna say.
And I hated it.
Yeah.
And I now to this day, only now I'm in my 30s now, am I like starting to say, oh, maybe I can run, because I just sort of got it in my head that running equals not fun.
Totally.
You know?
Totally. And I think that's such a common thing with movement and exercise, that it's this feeling of, no, I have to do this, which makes us not want to do it.
Yeah. And it's hard. And like your gym teacher who is like, faster, faster, faster. You're like, I'm only 5 years old.
I went to, my dad's an umpire for Little League, and they had a sign on the fence that said, a note from the children. The first reminder was, we are children. like, you know, we're not going to the World Series.
That is such a key reminder, I think.
Totally.
But I want to say that to myself even now,
Right.
as an adult woman. Like, I still have the child in me.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Well, and so I'm so curious to know, because then you've created Art Girl, which is an amazing community and practice, all rooted in the mission of, as you say, making bad art and creativity as a practice. So can you talk to us a little bit about how that came to be and what you are doing with Art Girl here in New York and beyond?
Yeah. So Art Girl is a creative collective where low stakes arts and crafts are your tools for deeper connection. And I really believe, and the whole point of Art Girl is to remind everyone that creativity is innate to being human, just like movement is a human right. We're all capable of doing these kind of things, and they can be scary because of the way the wellness world and the art world have kind of created these barriers for a
Yeah.
lot of people based on like how your art looks or how your body looks. And the reality is, we're talking about our inner children earlier. When we're kids, movement and creativity are both second nature. They're just in us. And so my mission with Art Girl is to help everyone remember that creativity is a tool that's welcome, that you can use to express yourself and ultimately understand yourself a little bit more deeply.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I mean, I think from the moment we met, that was why I think one of the key reasons why we felt so drawn to each other is because it's like Art Girl is to Joy Flow as, you know,
we're like equivalents in our two worlds.
Right, of like, it's not about the final product of what you're making when you're making art. It's about the act of creativity itself. And just like with Joy Flow, with movement, it's not about how the movement looks or how your body looks, but it all is focused on how can this feel good to you in this moment.
Yeah, and in this moment is really key, I think. I notice in my own art practice and what I try to teach my community members is that every day is different, and some days you have the energy to like spend a lot of time making something or moving your body, and some days you may not, but it's both are valid, and you can still learn so much out of making it into a habit. I think one of the things that we forget is that when you are consistent with any practice, whether it's movement or art or like both ideally, you build so much self-trust in yourself, and that self-trust can lead to more resilience, it can lead to higher self-esteem, it can lead to more confidence, and all of those things are ultimately in service of your highest good and your goals, and like your happiness,
Well, and I'm so curious of like, how did you get to this place where you're literally leading the mission of creativity as this practice, of this tool for self-trust as expression. But I know you also went to art school and you worked in museums around the city. So how did you get from A to B?
I went to art school and I was not that good, is what I was told. But I loved it. And, I think if I think back to 20-year-old Meagan, I totally identified as an artist. I was like, I'm a painter. But I was given advice from well-meaning professors and mentors that being an artist is hard, and look, there's all these like admin things you can do in the art world. And so I pursued a career in museums, which was very fulfilling at the time, and it was fabulous. But through that process of working for 10 years in museums, I lost the connection between me and my identity as an artist a little bit. And coinciding with that, I also was getting more and more anxious. I was feeling more and more burnt out. And when I kind of hit a breaking point and through that started to create again, it helped. It helped a ton. It started to make me feel better. And as I started to build that practice of, for me, it was like silly crafts, and again, it wasn't like, oh, I made these things and I'm going to open an Etsy store and or be in a gallery now. It was just about the act of making stuff that really helped me. And that's what I want to share with everyone else. That's why I always say make bad art, because it doesn't have to be good. And also, like, what even is good? It's art is so subjective. Same with movement, I think, who says that this is how the right way to move or the right way to create? And that like awakening for me really changed my entire life. So now I always encourage people, like, if you're afraid that you're not going to be good, or you think you're bad at art, or even if you're like not even thinking about art and you just feel kind of stuck, then try making something, like, see what happens. And we do like daily prompts and things like that just to help you get out of your head and your mind where everything is all intellectualized.
Can I share one of my favorite prompts of yours?
Yeah.
Draw yourself as a fish.
Oh yeah.
Just love that one.
That one is really good.
Yeah.
You can do that one at home.
Yeah.
Draw yourself as a fish. That's a perfect example of a silly low stakes prompt.
Yeah.
You're never going to be a fish. Well,
Oh, who's to
actually,
say?
you're right. You're right.
I mean,
you can be a fish. You can be whatever you want. But most of us are not like trying to be a fish.
Right.
So there's no pressure.
Right.
Like it's not perfect. And it can be scary if I'm like, draw who you want to be. It's like,
right.
oh, there's so many things. How am I going to visualize that? There's a lot of
Yeah.
pressure, and now suddenly I'm frozen. But if you draw yourself as a fish, what always happens with that prompt is people just sort of subconsciously will add things. Like when I do that prompt, I'm like, there's sparkles on the fish, and she's wearing ribbons, and she's like got big lips and nails, and I'm kind of like that. Those things are showing me something about my identity, or like the identity that I want to step into.
Totally.
Yeah, so that's one of my like introspective, quirky prompts that we love.
Well, and it makes me think of it almost is an icebreaker in the sense, because similarly, right, of the title of being an artist, what I find with folks who take Joy Flow is this block of, well, I'm not a dancer. And both of these things, both artistry and dancing, to your point, they are innate to all of us.
Yeah.
And I mean, I'd be curious of like even anybody here, if you've ever held yourself back or been like, oh, I can't do that because I'm not a dancer, or I'm not an artist, or I'm not creative. We hear that a lot too.
It's
right?
like
I know, and I'm like,
nails.
no, literally, you are designed as a creative vessel.
Truly.
Everything you are doing in this life, you are creating.
Exactly. And that's what I think people are, it's so sad. That was another thing that I really wanted to change with Art Girl. I used to teach a lot of teenagers, and I constantly heard from them that I can't do this project because I'm not creative. And I started to think about that, because I was like, why do so many people think that they aren't creative?
Right.
And a lot of times people equate creativity with some kind of skill, like drawing. Oh, this person is really good at drawing, and therefore they're creative.
Right.
But the fact is, drawing is a skill, and you can get better at drawing. Creativity is innate, and it's happening within you all the time.
Absolutely.
It's how you solve problems, it's how you make decisions, it's how you relate to people. All of these things require creativity. So whether or not you are engaging in something that would like be thought of as creative, like dancing or art,
Right.
you are. Cooking is creative. Deciding what route to take home is creative. Making spreadsheets is creative. Like, it's all creative. And that's, I think, what both Joyflow and Art Girl can teach, is the more you practice being creative in low stakes ways, like a silly doodle of you as a fish, or an intuitive movement practice where it doesn't matter what it looks like,
Right.
the stronger your relationship with your creativity can be, and the easier it will be for you to show up in life when life is giving you things that are hard to solve.
Right. Which is inevitable.
Yeah.
The other thing that it makes me think of in terms of the I'm not creative, there's also, I feel like when you're growing up, it's like, well, I'm not creative, I play sports. Like, that's the alternative, right? It's one or the other.
Yeah.
But we're multi-dimensional beings. We could do it all. We are doing it all.
Sports is creative.
Right.
Like, I mean, maybe
Drawing
that's like
routes, running routes.
Yeah, I'm like, you got to think of your plays. I don't know any sports lingo.
Yeah, I'm like, somebody help.
I think it's one of those things too, though. Like, a lot of like people in art school, myself included, will say things like, I'm not a math person.
Mm-hmm.
I think anytime you're saying something like that and you're making an absolute judgment of yourself, it's going to become a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Totally.
And so the more you remind yourself that you're not creative, the more you're going to like feel stuck in life, because you're resisting a huge part of your humanity. I believe
A
that's
moment
so
for
truly.
that.
Yeah.
So how does, at this point in your life, movement inform your creativity?
In so many ways. And because of you, really, Joy Flow came into my life like a year and a half ago, and it completely changed my my ideas of movement. So I'm a trained yoga teacher. I've had a lot of experiences in like the fitness world, the wellness world, mostly related to yoga, and I really love yoga. I'm super aligned with yogic philosophy, and it does also inform a lot of my work with Art Girl. And yet I was in a little bit of a rhythm with my like fitness. You know, whenever you're sort of like, I'm just going through the motions, I'm just like going to like this Pilates class every week because it's just what I do.
Right.
And I'm also I'm a very much like listen to your body kind of person, but so much so that in those fitness and workout classes I would sometimes feel really like detached from my body because they're telling me to do this and I'm kind of like, I'm just sort of doing the motions and I'm not really like checking in with myself. And then when I went to Joy Flow, it was like, oh my God, I'm shaking all of this emotion free. And my work with Art Girl is at its core about inner change and transformation. It's about feeling good. And there's no way to do that unless you have the body involved. That's how we process things. We need movement. And as soon as I started to incorporate that in my own practices, I'm always telling people to do art every day. And I think art also is a little bit somatic. But in my own life, as soon as I started to bring movement into my routines alongside art, it's like the two of those things together can be life-changing and so explosive. And even just now doing the Joy Flow, the shaking, doing that kind of thing, it's sort of like hard to put into words how you can feel after. But I think it's really inspiring and it's really important. And another thing that I have found is just like anything, you can do anything once, but building the habit of expressing yourself, however it is, through your body, through your creativity, through your words, your music, however it is, like when you are doing that in a regular cadence, then you like your life just becomes so much richer. And I think we need all of those things.
Totally. Totally. And you also, my experience has been at least, when you're showing up every day, you start to experience and see that literally every single day it's going to be different. Every hour it would be different if you showed up every hour. And it almost, I think there's sometimes like an expectation or a pressure that when I show up, it should be this particular way, or I'm going to have to feel this particular way. But when you get into the practice of actually showing up every day, you realize that that is so false. And it really just becomes a practice of meeting yourself where you are.
Completely. It's true. And like actually doing that is different than being like, I am here in the present moment. It's like it's you feel it.
Yeah.
You have to do it.
Totally.
You know?
Totally.
You have to like actually check in instead of just being like, I do the same moves every day. Right. Which of course there's probably benefits to doing that too, but having the chance to say, how does my body feel? How do I actually feel right here in this moment? And not like, how should I feel? Not how do I usually feel?
How does this person want me to feel?
How does this person want me to feel or expect me to feel? We are like, it's so much worse to disappoint yourself than others, which is something I've learned in many difficult ways in my life. But coming on, showing up to your creative practice, your movement practice is a really helpful way to start figuring out where it is that you're doing things that are not aligned with you, because that happens sometimes subconsciously.
Totally. Well, and so if somebody, let's say, wanted to join Art Girl, because you really, it's amazing to witness what you've built. And honestly, like I say, not a short amount of time, and obviously they've had different versions and different iterations, but you've built an incredible community with these offerings that people can join in from anywhere, all over the world. You have Stretch and Sketch, which is just so amazing. Like 30 minutes of stretching and sketching. So literally everything we're talking about right now.
Literally, you can do it all.
Yeah. And so, I mean, how can people get involved? Where can they find you?
Yeah, so we have a membership that you can join. There's daily doodle prompts that get posted every day, and then we do 2 stretch and sketch meetups on Zoom a month, and then 1 creative ritual. So there's 3 chances usually to get together and make art and move a little bit together online as part of the membership program. You can find all the information on artgirl.org or on Instagram. It's artgirl with a U.
Artgirl with a U, very
Yes.
important.
And it's not just for girls, it's for everyone that is interested in self-expression.
The art girl is more of an identity.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yes.
Yeah. Well, which actually leads me, I wanted to ask you one final question, which is, what would you describe, like, what does it mean to be an art girl?
Oh, I love that question. For me, being an art girl means you are interested in using creativity and self-expression to find yourself more deeply. So Art Girl is not just an art collective. It's really a group of like-minded people that want to use art and creativity to understand themselves more deeply. It's why I always say that it's a wellness company at the end of the day. It's not, I'm not trying to make everyone into an artist. I'm just trying to introduce us back to our innate sense of creativity. And that's really what sets Art Girl apart from other art clubs or art classes, is the element of self-discovery that is really key. And being witnessed by community in your self-discovery is a way to like fast track your understanding. So we have the community chat. We do live events as well in New York City. They're really fun, different types of
amazing.
workshops.
I can fully say I love the sticker swap.
Yes,
the best.
sticker swaps and junk journaling and all the cute stuff.
And
yeah.
Can I say, I mean, your junk journaling has radically changed my reflection process. 'Cause I used to be a journaler, like, you know, and that's had its time and moment. But more recently, I was like, I feel like this isn't just like giving me what I want anymore. And I've shifted to just pasting things in my journal, like all throughout it. There's just like little mini collages, and it's just such a bright, like, just such a dose of sunshine. Honestly, it's so great. I love it.
I've seen some of Sarah's junk journal pages, and they are amazing.
Thank you.
I totally agree. I think journaling is so powerful and amazing, and also adding a little bit of like pasting stuff in or like saving a receipt from something. It's just fun.
It is.
And healing.
And it's just like a way to kind of commemorate this life.
Yeah.
Your life, you know,
Exactly.
and yourself in this moment.
Totally. And that's, I think, the power of doing something like having a junk journal practice, is that it is really about the moment, because you're using things that you like. For example, this is going to go straight in the junk journal.
Absolutely. I knew it will.
And then I'll get to reflect on this experience and being here, and it will be like something that I'll be able to look back on and remind myself I felt this way in this moment, because nothing lasts forever. Things always change.
Right.
And that's amazing, because that means we're not going to feel sad forever. And that means when we're happy, more happiness can come.
Right.
So
Right.
yeah, so it's so powerful to have something like that you can look back on to remind yourself how quickly things can change.
So true. Wow.
And the butterfly is such a good symbol of change.
It really is. Well, I'd love to ask our audience here if anybody has a question for our fabulous guest of Meagan.
I actually would love to ask you a question. Okay, so as someone who lives in New York, super busy, running around all the time, I'm sure you can relate.
Yes.
I love feeling creative. It's something that I've always been tapped into, more or less. But how do you, when you do feel super busy and don't find time to tap into that creativity, what do you do, and do you have any advice?
Yeah. This is huge. So I have 2 things to say to that. The first, that's an amazing question that I really relate to, and I think many of us can.
Totally.
Number 1 is that if you're in the mindset that art or creativity is going to take up a lot of time, then it will. But at the end of the day, if you have 5 minutes and the back of a receipt, you can doodle, and you can try the draw yourself as a fish. Like
That's the homework for everybody.
Yeah, that's homework.
Send us your drawings. Bring them back next week.
That really won't take long. It's just a matter of finding 5-minute pockets in your day, like while you're riding the train even. The other thing to note is that there are a lot of ways that we are being creative in our daily lives anyway. So if you bring a little bit of intention to that, to those moments, then you might find that you feel a little bit more creative. So some examples are what you wear in the morning, how you do your makeup if you wear makeup, your hair if you're doing that. So like things about how you look. We're doing that anyway. Everyone gets dressed in the morning, so you can bring a little bit of creative expression into that practice. Cooking, if you are already making yourself dinner, why not challenge yourself to try a new recipe or use an ingredient that you haven't before? There are so many moments I think that we already are finding creative expression, and so it's just a matter of it's not adding time actually to your day, it's just bringing attention to it. I'll give one more example. If you're commuting and you always take one certain route, what if you like took a different route and just to see, you know?
Love that. Yeah. Recognizing where you're already being creative.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Yeah. Yeah. And so just go through your day and be like, where am I making choices? Because whenever you're making a choice, there's a chance to be creative with it.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much.
This was such a pleasure and a joy.
Totally.
And a joy.
Can we please give it up for our amazing guest, Meagan Mahaffy, founder of Art Gurl. Thank you so much for joining us on the Morning Movement Show. We will, connect with you. Follow Meagan at _. Is it 2 underscores?
2 underscores.
That's what I thought.
Yeah.
At @artgirl with a U. _ on Instagram. And we will see you next week. Next week, Tuesday, we have Chrissy King, author of The Body Liberation Project, joining us as our guest. Excuse me. And we will see you to move, to groove, to have amazing conversations just like we did here today with Meagan. Thank you again so much, and thank you all for tuning in.